Welcome to ARC Studios Writer Questions. I'm Micah Cratty. Today we're talking about agents and managers, aka reps. More specifically, do you need them and how do you get them? To start, one of the foundations of the entire entertainment industry is people liking something and passing it along to someone else. And your reps are the people in charge of passing your scripts along to studios, to producers, to directors, actors, whomever. That's their job. So if you don't have reps, it's a lot harder to get people to read your stuff. Another reason why reps are really important is because of time. Ideally, you'd spend your time actually writing and not managing your career. I mean, think about it. Would you rather spend your time writing your scripts or writing emails to execs and producers? I know my answer. Reps can also be really helpful because they sort of act like a bad news buffer, which helps you maintain your industry relationships. If someone tells me we're not buying your script or we don't want to hire you, it's not personal, but like it really feels personal. And if they're telling you that directly, then you have that tension in your relationship. But if they can tell your rep that and then it gets filtered through you, I mean, it still hurts you the same, but it doesn't necessarily affect your relationship with the executive so that you can keep that relationship focused on creative potential for the future because at some point, there's a good chance you will work with that executive on some other project. So if reps are important, then how do you get them? Well, the most important aspect is just being a strong writer. It doesn't have anything to do with the networking or anything like that. So if you're early in your career, if you've only written a few scripts, don't spend so much time worrying about reps. Instead, focus your attention on developing as a writer. You need to master the fundamentals, but you also really need to develop your own personal voice. Your writing is a reflection of who you are, so your scripts should feel special and uniquely you. Only you could write this. Then if people want that voice, they have to hire you to get it. So don't worry so much about looking at the marketplace and trying to figure out what will sell and what's hot right now. Just write the thing that's the best demonstration of your voice. Once you have really strong scripts that are in your unique voice, how do you use them to get reps? I can think of two difficult but legitimate paths toward getting reps. The first is that you get someone who knows the reps to pass along your work to them. And the second is that you create the demand so the reps reach out to you. Having someone pass along your script to an agent or manager is probably the most common way people get read. A little industry lingo, people often talk about the writer getting read, not the script getting read. So they'll talk about oh, I'm trying to get read, or that agent's going to read you. Now, obviously that raises the question, how do you meet the people who can pass your script along to agents and managers? And it's really hard to answer that question because it just depends on your situation. Who do you know? Who are you? Where do you live? Where did you go to school? What's your job? All these factors. It's impossible to answer, from every perspective. The easiest way to make industry connections is to actually work in the industry. Actually, that's not true. The easiest way is to be rich and powerful. If you're still in college, get internships at production companies, studios, or even talent agencies and management companies. They're always hiring assistants. It's not necessarily a great job, and it can be rough if your boss is not a nice person, let's say. But it's a way to get your foot in the door. All these kind of jobs, you won't necessarily be writing, but you will be making connections. And once you're working in the industry, you're not only making connections at work, but you're making them outside of work. So you're meeting your coworkers' friends and your friends' coworkers and, all sorts of people, and it starts to grow organically. As you meet people and make connections, it is so important that you be nice, genuine, and actually like the person. Make connections with people you actually like and who actually like you. I think a good rule of thumb is to ask yourself, would I actually be friends with this person if they couldn't advance my career? And if the answer is no, please leave them alone. The other way to get reps is to induce demand, which means instead of you going to them, you make it so they want to come to you. The most common way this happens is that you're just writing a lot and eventually you start to gain some traction and people reach out to you. But you can also do this without being directly involved in the professional screenwriting game. You can win a screenwriting competition. You can be a playwright. There are so many playwrights in TV right now. You can write books and publish short stories, and then you own the IP to what you wrote. You can make short films and win prizes at festivals, and if you've got a lot of money to burn, you can make a whole feature film, but that's very expensive. If you do comedy, then do comedy. Do stand-up and get noticed. Do online sketches, or be hilarious on TikTok and amass a lot of followers. If you do anything that's creative and drawing attention, eventually people in Hollywood are going to notice and start to think, can I make money off of this person? And then they'll reach out to you. That's probably a little too cynical. It's not just about the money. If you're doing cool stuff, people are going to want to be a part of it. You're not probably going to have much success with that. First off, I doubt anyone's going to read the script, and I really doubt you're going to get repped off of it. Since they're making money on commission, they're only going to represent you if they think they can make money off of you. And not money like 5 years down the line when you've developed into the great writer they know that you can be because they really believe in you. Like money in the short term. So if they think you're some random person without experience or without connections, it's going to be a lot harder for them to make money off of you. So the incentives aren't really aligned for them to take you on as a client. But remember, the most important thing is to be a strong writer. If you're not a strong writer, if your samples aren't good enough, then none of this other stuff matters. So really, that's where you should put your focus. And above all else, be developing your own unique voice. Become the screenwriter that agents and managers are desperate to represent. That's it for this episode. I hope you found it useful. Thank you so much for watching. If you have a question you want answered about the career side of screenwriting or the actual writing part of screenwriting, please submit it to writerquestions@arcstudiopro.com. Until next time, happy writing.